as March comes around, today I will be covering the top 5 best boxes to buy during March. So these boxes are basically the ones where I think you are going to make the fastest growth the quickest. So no need to waste the time. Let's just start with number 5. And number 5 is PRB02. PRB02 is a fantastic set. First of all, it has the only Sanji manga, which is a pretty big deal because Sanji is incredibly popular. On top of that, the Sanji is very difficult to pull. On top of that, with PRB02, it also has the Gum Gum Giant, it has a Monkey D. Luffy OR, it has some pretty decent cards inside. Now, it's not exactly the best set out there, but it's not exactly the most expensive set out there. It's only about $340, and in my honest opinion, I think it is worth it. It is a very, very solid set. Considering it is part of the Premium Booster series, there is a pretty solid chance it won't get reprinted. We don't know 100%, so it isn't really like a fact. It's more just the fact that the first one didn't, so you also have that going for it as well. So overall, it is a pretty solid set for 340, but I just want to be clear, this list is for, there is an order on this list. So number 1 is way better of a buy than number 5. So moving on to number 4, which is OP11. This is where it starts to get really interesting. So OP11 is about $400. When it comes to booster boxes, you always want to look for what is the best value. You can look at things like OP05, and that is a pretty easy, obvious play. Great. But if you do a little bit of digging, you'll see there are similar sets out there where the top chase is a similar price, or at least looking at like the top 2 chases, they're a pretty similar price. However, they're much cheaper. So the value lines up. For example, the Gold Luffy is about $11,000 last time I checked. It's around that range. It could have gone down, but I believe it's around that range. Yeah, so I just checked and the gold card is about $11,000 to $12,000 as a PSA 10. Now the Gear 5 Luffy manga is about $14,000. So it's about 2 to 3 grand under the Gear 5 Luffy. However, here's the thing, this is where it gets interesting. The booster box is not even 50% of the price of OP05. It's like 40% of the price. So it's a fantastic deal. Looking at the value, it's simply there. Now, this is a box I've been repping when it was 170, 180 before all the retail investors came into One Piece. Not like that's a bad thing or anything, but like I've been repping this box for a while now, and I still am because it's just such good value. Back then the top chase was $6,000 as a PSA 10, and the box was 170. Well, now the box is 400 and the top chase is like 12 grand. So it's still insanely good value for a $400 box. I mean, shut the front door. It is fantastic value. When OP05 was $380, which was about November of last year, I don't think the Monkey D. Luffy was $12,000. No, it was not. No. So when you invested in OP05 and it was a $380 box, let's just say $400, the Monkey D. Luffy was about $8,000 as a PSA 10, or about $9,000. This is now a $400 box, OP11. Different scenario, but a better chase. Because now the chase is $12,000. Do you see all my points? You're actually getting better value than what OP05 was when it was its price. And this is what I mean when it's like, yeah, sure, you can buy OP05 and then I'll do really well. But it's like, if you just do a little bit of if you look into it a little bit more, whoa, there's some really good value that you can still buy. And when people say the market is priced in, I giggle, man. I laugh because that's just not true, dude. A lot of the time people say all right, now the market's priced in. There's nothing you can buy. And then 3 months go by and this item, that item, and this item went up 50%. And then people go, all right, now the market's priced in. And it's like, yeah, all right, buddy, pack it up. There's always opportunities in the market. So yeah, anyways, number 3 is OP13 for $520. Yes, it's time to get the pitchforks. OP13 is not number 1. It's not a $170 box anymore. When I started this channel, OP13 was about $160, $170. Now it's $520. Okay, so it's not exactly the cheapest box out there. It does have a reprint coming. How big will the reprint be? Who realistically knows? Will the boxes be sealed? I don't know. Some people said yes, some people said no, so we kind of just have to wait and see. But nonetheless, I'll tell you what is a better option. Well, number 2 is a better option in my opinion, but I'll tell you that later on. OP13 is a phenomenal set. Yes, it has all these coming in the future. Yes, it has a reprint, and it's probably been printed, not the most, but it has been printed a lot. So I will say, out of all of the items out there, it is definitely probably one of those items that will be more of a commonly held set, and it'll be, like a lot of people hold it, but you almost have like another like wave of investors holding it. So you are, holding an item a lot more people holding versus something like OPO5. We had a lot less people holding it, but still, it's still a phenomenal set. It still is extremely strong. I made a video yesterday. Make sure to check it out if you haven't. I was basically covering a lot of mangas that have gone down in price, but then I was also covering a lot of ones that actually haven't gone down in price. And I was basically saying like, hey, let's look at the Gear 2 Luffy. It was selling for it was selling for $13,000. Now it's selling for like $6,500. That's near a 50%, 50% dip downwards. And something that I've noticed is whenever I use the word crash, it gets people really emotional. Like a lot of time people say like, oh no, the market isn't crashing, you're just like a hype beast. I'm like, okay, dude, if an item is down 50%, that's a crash. Like, let's be real for a second. I understand an item can go, the Gear 2 Leafy was about $3,000 as a PSA 10, then it rose to $12,000. But if it goes from $12,000 to $6,000, that's a fat dip downwards. So yes, it once was $3,000, but it still sold a lot for $13,000 or $12,000. So I would label that as a crash, in my opinion. Although, yeah, some people do disagree on that, which is fine. Like, everybody can have their own opinion, but it's just, I find specifically when I use that word, a lot of people get really annoyed, which is fine. It's whatever. It's no big deal. But in the video, if you did watch the video, you'll notice I was mentioning that you had some cards going down a lot, but then you had cards like the Gold Roger. It was actually up. The Gold Rogers hit an all-time high, $25,200 as a PSA 10. And then if you look at cards like the Red Luffy, still selling above $20,000. There's no crash in sight for those guys. So like, it's not really a crash across the board. For most items, there's a crash. For most boxes, there's been a bit of a dip, more like the modern stuff, and Blue Bottom really felt it. That was selling for like $9,500 on the high. Now you can get it for $5,500. So that's almost crashed 50%. Not quite, but it's almost. Like that's crazy. That is insane. But it's about 30 to 40-ish%. But that's not really the point of the video. What we're talking about is how strong OP13 chasers are holding up. Specifically the Luffy. It's rare. It's really rare. Even if they do another print wave, so they do the June print wave, and let's just say they do another one on top of that. So they've done 4 waves, the initial wave, second wave, third wave, which is in July, and then a 4th wave. Let's just say they do 4, which I don't think they've ever done. I'm pretty sure the only time they've ever done, well, no, actually, I don't think they've ever done 4 waves. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the maximum they've ever done is 3 waves. So let's just say they break that and they go to 4 waves. The pop of the Luffy's is right now 161 PSA 10s. I don't think it's going to be more than like 250. So this wave coming up in June, it's probably not going to be that big. It's probably going to be very difficult to come by, and it's probably just going to get absorbed immediately. And then people will realize, no, OP13 is not going back to MSRP, and your best bet is to just dollar cost average. Okay, so what I think is going to happen is that the pop of the Luffy is just going to be tiny. Right now it's 161. What is it going to be? 200? 250? And then it just levels out. The Gold Roger is a fantastic example. That Gold Roger is rare as anything. There's like 260 PSA 10s. It's a $25,000 card. Like, you can clearly see a bit of a link, a bit of a common denominator on the cards that are not down in price. The cards that are up in price, you'll notice they are the rare ones. They're the ones that's insanely hard to come by. So look at Gold Roger, look at the Red Luffy, and you'll see, all right, well, these cards are doing really well. Meanwhile, you have other cards halving in price. And there's a reason why. There's a lot more of them out there. There are other ones like the Manga Sabu in OP13. That was 2.2k. Now it can't even crack $1,000 on auctions. That's pretty bad. That's over 50% loss. That's a lot, right? But then in the same set, literally the identical set, you have the top chase not even going down below $20,000. So you can clearly see there's a bit of a correlation of the strength of rare cards. So that's number 3, OP13. During the upside, yeah, everything's up, no crap. But during the downside, if the top chase isn't really going down in price, you're investing in a good set. You're doing something right. Whoa, now before we continue with the next one, I just want to quickly say, if you are enjoying this video, please do consider giving it a like and subscribing. I really appreciate everyone who does do that. I know I say it every single video, but like when I say it, it's not an auto response. Like I just genuinely do appreciate everyone who does that. Whenever you guys, DM me, talk in the Discord, or comment and just like overall just like compliment the channel, say they like the videos, it really does motivate me to do more. And I really appreciate everyone who does do that. Trust me, every single comment that says that, like it really does, like, every single time, it always warms my heart. So I really appreciate everyone who does do that. Another thing is, if you're not in the Discord server, make sure to join it. Links are in the description. And then finally, if you are grabbing any boxes on any platforms like eBay or TCGPlayer, before you do make your purchase, please do consider just using my affiliate link. All you basically do is just click the link in the description or the pinned comments, make your purchase as you would usually, and then I get a small kickback. eBay and TCGPlayer has an affiliate program where it's basically just almost like, I guess, gives an incentive to shop on that platform, but it helps support the channel a lot. And if you're going to grab boxes anyways, it's the best way to support the channel. So I appreciate everyone who does do that. But anyways, let's continue with the video. Speaking of doing something right, number 2 is OP09. OP09 is basically OP13, but a shittier version. It has less mangas, like expensive mangas. The Gold Roger and the Red Luffy are quite, paired in price. But then you go to the next one, which is the Luffy versus the Ace, which is the Red Ace. And then you've got the Red Sabu, and then you've got the Luffy Ace, then the normal Sabu. So like you've got, with OP13, you've got a lot more depth inside. So OP09 is basically just a shittier version, and especially the fact that it also has wanted posters as well. They basically just got OP09 and then pretty much just cranked it to the max. But here's the thing about OP09, is that a lot less people hold it, and I find there was a lot less printing for OP09. I find out of the 3 anniversary sets, I honestly feel like OP09 got the least printing. If you were there when OP09 came out, yeah, at least in Australia, it was available for a couple weeks, but then it kind of sold out. It wasn't like scalpable or anything. It wasn't like the most insane prices out there, but it was it was over MSRP in Australia like a couple weeks after it came out. Like it didn't take long for it to flush out. Random side note, this is actually a really funny story. So I bought 36 packs of blisters from like a Kmart. I brought them back and I opened them up, and then I didn't pull anything. And then what's really funny is I was like, oh, darn, that sucks. But then I noticed that I dropped a pack like in between like a table. So it was actually on the floor, and I didn't realize that I dropped it. And I was like, yeah, all right, pal. I opened it up, and I kid you not, I pulled like a $300 chase, and I was over the moon. That was a playable card, so it's gone to the absolute ground now. But I was over the moon. I was like, let's freaking go, chat. That was insane, because it came in clutch. Otherwise, I was just getting absolutely cooked. But it was just so funny, because I literally forgot it was there. Like I had an entire, 36 packs. I mean, that takes up a pretty good amount of room. And then, yeah, I opened up, and I got a pretty good chase. So that was pretty cool. I haven't really opened up much OP. I opened up OP04 a couple years ago. I got nothing. Oh, actually, I did get something. And then I opened up an OP06. I was chasing the Zoro. But then I just bought the Zoro manga for like $600 as a PSA 10, which was pretty sweet. That was back when mangas were kind of affordable. Really random side note. Just funniest experience with OP09, because it was like straight out of a Hollywood movie. I just straight up found a pack, and I was like, wait, there's one more pack. I wonder if there's something inside. And then boom. So that was pretty funny. But anyways, besides the point, there was definitely way less printing for OP09 than OP13, and OP05 got a crap ton of printing. You've got to remember, that Luffy is rare as anything, and there are 1,000 PSA 10s, the Gear 5 Luffy. There's 3 mangas to pull. It's very difficult to pull that Luffy, yet there's so many out there. It got the fattest print wave. So yeah, OP05 has gotten a bunch of printing. Now let's look at OP13. OP13, look, it's hard to kind of like get a feel for it. The only thing I can realistically do, this is the kind of only thing I can realistically do, is that there are 3 mangas in OP13. There are 3 mangas in OP05. Kind of pick up what I'm putting down here. It's a bit of theory, but there are 1,000 Gear 5 Luffys, and there are 630 of the normal Luffy. So in OP13. So provided they have the same difficulty to pull, there's 3 mangas, so it's the same difficulty, like provided actually the frequency of pulling mangas is the same. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? So it's like, considering the, like, give it like 2 more years, and I would say that like the amount of, I would say enough boxes are going to get opened up where the Luffy is going to hit 1,000 PSA 10s. And OP09, it's just, I don't know, like it is a bit of theory, but out of the 3 anniversary sets, I am going to say it probably did get the least printing, or at least in its lifespan it will get the least printing. Something to take to note is that OP13 is actually not done. OP05 does kind of seem to be done. They haven't touched that for like over a year now. And OP09, they did do a print wave recently. They did, I think it was Bandai stores, they did unsealed OP09 boxes, I believe. So there has been an added supply of that. But anyways, the point is, I feel like OP09 is definitely the rarest out of all of them, and so far it does have the most expensive chase out of all of them. The Gold Roger is the most expensive, and it is rare as anything, and unlike OP13, it didn't start off being like a $20,000 card. Technically, OP13, the Luffy was about $3,000-$4,000, the red Luffy, for like the first week that it came out, but talking about like years in the future, like the Roger, now it's a $20,000 card, sure, and I'm sure now people will open up OP09 to chase it, but the thing about OP13 is like most people who pumped the box from like $170 to like $700, most of those people are kind of just buying it purely to try and chase the red Luffy, while most people are opening it, although like with Roger, I feel like when the set kind of came out, people were more or less collecting it, and they, so my point is that I feel like a lot of people who have gotten the Roger actually want to hold it and collect it, versus people who are opening up OP13 now are more or less just gambling. That's what I'm trying to get to, if that makes sense. But then that brings us to number 1, which is none other than OP12. OP12 is a phenomenal set. It is criminally undervalued. No, I'm kidding. OP14. So OP14 is a fantastic set. There's a lot going for it. Now, I will just say every single top chase just got absolutely clapped. The gold buggy, I believe, was $6,000 to $8,000 as a PSA 10. Now it can't even crack $3,000, so it's over halved. SP Zoro, I submitted one of those, and I paid like a lot for the express grading. So I was trying to, you know, buy it, grade it, get it back. I did the Super Express option. Realistically, I didn't need to do that, but I did. So now I'm not down on it. I'm still making money on the Zoro, but like, damn. It was like $5,200, and it wasn't 1 or 2 sales. It was like plentiful amount of sales. Then 4,500, 4,300, 500, 3,500, 3,000, and now it's all the way down to like 1.8k, which is crazy. But anyways, point is, a lot of the top chasers have just gotten absolutely clapped. Like, they've just gotten destroyed. Same with like the silver buggy, the manga as well. A lot of OP14 has just gone destroyed, but it is still an absolutely gorgeous set. And I feel like the market has definitely overshot these market dumps. Like, the Zoro is probably the single nicest card they've ever made in all of One Piece. The manga is decent. It's pretty solid. It is definitely up there. Then you've got the gold buggy, the silver buggy. I mean, I pretty much said it from day one. I think those cards are ugly as anything. I didn't like them the second they came out. Thought they were just the most ugly things ever. I thought the perspective and the angle was really weird. They could have done a lot better of a job, IMHO, but still, it is a rare card, and it still is a popular character, so it has that. So I still think it definitely does have the potential there. So overall, I think OP14 is in a really good spot, and I feel like it will definitely do a lot better than other sets. And I feel like out of all of the opportunities right now in the market, OP14 is probably your best bet. The set value is still really high. The top chases are still really expensive. A lot of them were overvalued as PSA 10s. Now they've kind of corrected. I feel like they have overcorrected, and I feel like they'll probably shoot up again, in my honest opinion. The buggy, I do not think it should be. I think it was like 2.4k as a gold 10 now. That's crazy. The manga is like 1.8k. Zoro, you know what it is? It's just everybody graded all the top chasers and are just selling it immediately. So the thing is, man, I really wish I graded mine like a week prior, because I would have had it back by now, and I would have already sold it. But holy crap, it really went down. But it's fine. It's no biggie. I think it'll do really well. But anyways, the thing is that so many of them got auctioned off on the PSA eBay account. You had like 10 Zoros ending a day, like at its peak. It was insane. So I feel like now, with the market, with less of them being available, I feel like now, the boxes are becoming more expensive. Finding reputable sellers selling them for a reasonable price so they're not mapped boxes, that's getting harder and harder. The supply is drying up. And also, they didn't announce a reprint for OP14. They announced a reprint for EBO3, and they announced a reprint for OP13. But then OP14 is kind of just in the middle, and it's like, oh, well, what about me? But I don't think it really needs a reprint. It's $240. It's not really going to get much lower than that. So I think that, yeah, right now, the position that OP14 is in, it's in a really good spot. I would say out of any box, this is definitely the best one, in my opinion. You just got to think like OP14, it's right now 240. The probability that it goes to 480. Okay, it has a decent probability of doing it. It's the probability that something like, I don't know, OP5 goes to $2,000. Well, in my opinion, out of the two, I would probably say OP14 is probably more probable because the top chase, like, there's so much inside. It is such a, the set has so much depth. So I think that OP14 is definitely the best buy right now. But overall, any of these picks are really solid in my honest opinion. You can grab older ones like Blue Bottom and OP05. Definitely really good picks. You'll probably make more consistent returns and more safe returns. But at the same time, you probably won't be making like those bigger boy returns. But it kind of just depends what you're after. If you just want to buy 10 Blue Bottoms and just call it a day, that's fair enough. If you want to maximize your returns, this list is for you. So it's pretty much just depends what your intentions are. But that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.